I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. I looked around, disoriented as I tried to get my bearings. I was in a dimly lit room, strapped down to a bed with leather restraints. I struggled against them, but they were too tight. I let out a panicked cry, but no one came to my aid. I heard the sound of high heels clicking against the floor, and I turned my head to see my girlfriend, Sarah, walking towards me. She had a cold, calculating look in her eyes, and I knew I was in trouble. "Sarah, what's going on? Why am I tied up?" I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't respond. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a pair of scissors. My heart caught in my throat as I realized what she was about to do. "Sarah, please, don't!" I pleaded, but she ignored me. She approached the bed, and before I could even react, she plunged the scissors into my groin. I screamed in agony as she began to saw through my flesh. I thrashed and struggled, but it was no use. She was too strong. When she was finished, she stood up and admired her handiwork. I looked down to see my genitals lying on the floor in a pool of blood. I let out a gut-wrenching scream, tears streaming down my face. Sarah walked over to the corner of the room and picked up a bag. She rummaged through it and pulled out a disposable camera. She walked back over to me and held it up to my face. "Smile," she said, before snapping a photo. I was in too much pain to even respond. I just lay there, whimpering and crying as she turned and walked out of the room. I don't know how long I was left there, but it felt like an eternity. I drifted in and out of consciousness, the pain intense and all-consuming. Finally, I heard the sound of sirens, and I knew help had arrived. I passed out from the pain, and the next thing I knew, I was being loaded into an ambulance. I woke up in the hospital. My family and friends gathered around me. I had been through emergency surgery, and the doctors told me that they had been able to save my life, but I would never be able to have children. I couldn't believe what Sarah had done to me. I had been caught cheating on her, and she had taken revenge in the most brutal way possible. But as I lay there, fighting for my life, I realized that I had it coming. I had been reckless and irresponsible, and I had hurt the one person who had loved me unconditionally. I knew that I would never be able to forgive myself for what I had done, but I vowed to make things right, to do everything in my power to make amends and to never make the same mistake again. It was a long and difficult road to recovery, both physically and emotionally, but I was determined to make things right, to make amends and to move on with my life. I know that I will never be able to fully make up for what I did, but I hope that by being a better person, I can start to make things right. Sarah was never caught, and I never saw her again. But I will never forget what she did to me, and I will always carry the scars, both physical and emotional, as a reminder of the consequences of my actions. I know that I will never be able to fully move on from this, but I will continue to try, to be a better person, and to make amends for my mistakes. I will always be grateful for my second chance, and I will never take it for granted. I will live my life to the fullest, and I will always remember the lessons that I learned from this experience. So, I guess this is a cautionary tale, a reminder to always be mindful of the choices we make, and to always be aware of the consequences of our actions. And most importantly, to never, ever cheat on your girlfriend, because you never know what she might do. And as I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, I couldn't help but wonder what my future would hold, whether I would be able to move on from this, and whether I would ever be able to find true happiness and love again. But one thing I knew for sure, I would never forget what Sarah had done to me, and I would always carry the scars, both physical and emotional, as a reminder of the consequences of my actions. And with that, I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep, hoping and praying for a better tomorrow. After my release from the hospital, I had to go through extensive therapy and rehabilitation to learn how to walk again and to adjust to my new reality. The physical pain was immense, but the emotional pain was even worse. I was filled with guilt and regret for what I had done to Sarah and for the consequences of my actions. I struggled to come to terms with what had happened and to find a way to move forward. I knew that I couldn't change the past, but I was determined to make amends and to do everything in my power to make things right. I started by reaching out to Sarah to apologize for what I had done and to try and make things right, but she never responded. I couldn't blame her, but it still hurt. It wasn't easy, and there were many times when I wanted to give up. But I was determined to make things right, to make amends, and to move on with my life. I still think about Sarah and what she did to me, but I no longer blame her. I understand now that she was hurt and that she was acting out of pain. I hope that she has been able to find peace and happiness in her life. As for me, I have finally been able to find some measure of happiness and fulfillment. I have a new partner who loves and supports me and who understands and accepts my past. I am now a father, and I am determined to be the best father I can be. I will always carry the scars, both physical and emotional, as a reminder of the consequences of my actions. But I am grateful for my second chance and for the lessons I have learned. I know that I will never be able to fully move on from what happened, but I am determined to make the most of my life and to use my experience to help others. And with that, I close this chapter of my life and look forward to the future, to a future filled with hope and possibility, to a future where I can be the man I always wanted to be. I hope that my story can serve as a reminder to others, a cautionary tale of the consequences of our actions, and a reminder to always be mindful of the choices we make and to always be aware of the consequences of our actions. And with that, I say goodbye to my past and hello to my future. Thank you for listening to my story.
Please subscribe to my channel Lessons of Life and press the bell notification icon.